Well, we're trying to win, Mark. I mean, we're trying to find a way to win, and we've been doing that. So, like those questions are more for Connor as far as what his plans are and his thoughts are. We're on the same we're on the same page as Connor. We want to win too. So, all the moves that we make are geared towards trying to win the cup next year. We're not building for, like I said, 4 years from now. So. I think that it lines up very in the same parallel path where Connor wants to win and we want to win. So that's the way we look at it. No, we can only do that is build this team up the best we can with whether it's trades or signings or development of players from within. It's all with the hopes that it's going to take us to a better result than we have now.
Connor McDavid played 82 games this season. He scored 138 points, and Edmonton still barely scraped past the .500 line. Let that marinate for a second. The greatest player alive, producing at a historic clip, and the Oilers finished with 93 points. A goal differential of +13. That's not a championship roster. That's a franchise held together by two men and a lot of hope. Stan Bowman knows exactly what the problem is. He's known for a while. The wingers flanking McDavid are not built for the speed he plays at. Nobody in that locker room runs with him the way he needs to be run with. And when you're constructing a team around a generational engine, the most important thing you can do is find someone who can actually sit in the passenger seat without pumping the brakes. That's where this off-season conversation gets interesting. Because a name has started circulating with real momentum this time. Not a quiet whisper in some column buried on page 4. A direct connection from a credible voice with specific reasoning attached to it. Jeff Marek, one of the most plugged-in insiders in the league, went on Daily Face-Off Live this past Tuesday and put Jordan Kyrou's name right next to Edmonton's wish list. His phrasing wasn't cautious. He said Kyrou is someone you should expect to hear about a ton this offseason in relation to the Oilers. That's a deliberate word choice from a reporter who understands how these things move. And the reasoning isn't complicated. Kyrou is fast. Genuinely, dangerously fast. The kind of fast that doesn't need to be manufactured or coached. It's just there, every shift, every breakout, every rush. When you ask yourself who in this league can operate in McDavid's atmosphere without getting left behind, the list is not long. Kyrou sits on it. Marek also mentioned something that should catch your attention. He said Kyrou has been available for a couple of years now. Not available in the speculative sense. Available in the real sense, the kind where other teams around the league are already aware Doug Armstrong has been listening. That's not a minor detail. That's the league telling you something about how St. Louis values this situation. Now, what actually happened in St. Louis this season? Kyrou played 72 games and finished with 18 goals and 46 points. For anyone who watched him over the previous 2 seasons, those numbers are a clear step back. He had 37 goals in 2022-23. He was building towards something. This year, that building stalled. The Blues finished 37-33-12. They allowed 3.1 goals per game, which puts them 23rd in the league. That's not a winning environment for anyone, but for a forward whose game depends on confidence and clean zone entries, it matters. You don't put up your best numbers when your team is giving up goals in bunches and sitting out of playoff contention in February. His -5 rating got circled a lot. Critics love that number. But context doesn't disappear just because a statistic looks convenient. Playing in St. Louis this year, on a team bleeding goals and without consistent line mates, is not the same as playing that same -5 on a structured, defensively responsible club. What's interesting is how he ended the year. Over his final 5 games, Kyrou put up 5 points and finished +3. That's not a player whose wheels fell off. That's a player who, even in a broken season, closed the door properly. The talent didn't vanish. The circumstances compressed it. So the fit conversation is legitimate. The hockey logic holds. A winger who can push the pace, who processes the game at high speed, who can function on the off-wing of the most dynamic playmaker in the sport. That's not a reach. That's a sensible connection. But here is where the dream runs into the math. Kyrou carries an $8.125 million cap hit through the life of his deal. On paper, that number is justifiable for a top 6 winger with elite speed and offensive upside. In reality, it becomes complicated the moment you place it next to the rest of Edmonton's cap sheet. McDavid is at $12.5 million. Leon Draisaitl's new extension at $14 million is set to take effect. Zach Hyman carries $5.5 million on the left wing. That's already a massive concentration of money in 3 players. Adding Kiru at over $8 million means something real has to move. Not a fringe piece. Real money. Real contracts. Real negotiation with another team that has its own needs and its own leverage. That's the part of this conversation that never gets mapped out in the rumor phase. Marek flagged Kiru. He didn't attach a trade package to it. Nobody has. And usually, that gap between the name dropping and the actual mechanism of a trade is where these things quietly dissolve before the calendar flips to July. Bowman has been around long enough to know that. He's built championship rosters before. He understands that cap construction is not poetic. You don't just collect players who fit the vision. You build the infrastructure to make it work, and that means sacrifice somewhere, from someone. The question now is whether there's a deal structure that makes both sides functional. Does St. Louis want to move salary and receive assets? Does Edmonton have the right combination of players and picks to make Armstrong pick up the phone for real? Those aren't rhetorical questions. They are the actual barriers between a rumor and a transaction. What we do know is this. Edmonton's margin for error has shrunk. They have a window. Everyone in the hockey world understands that. McDavid and Draisaitl are not getting younger, and the teams around them in the conference are not getting weaker. Vegas, Dallas, LA, Colorado. The West is not clearing a path for the Oilers just because McDavid is the best player alive. To win it, Edmonton needs to be better around him. Not just marginally better, meaningfully, structurally better. A true speed threat on his right side isn't a luxury in that conversation. It's close to a necessity. Kiru is that option. He's not the only option. But right now, with Marek's credibility attached to this connection, he's the one with the most momentum behind him. Whether Armstrong actually answers the phone is a separate conversation. Whether Bowman can build the trade that makes Armstrong want to is an even harder one. But the name is out there now. And in the NHL offseason, once a name starts moving, it rarely stops quietly.